Now we're going to get to part 2 of this interview where Ralph Nader has some things to say about the Green Party. And this echoes some of the things that I heard when I interviewed Jesse Ventura, some of the things that I heard when I interviewed other Green Party members on this show. There is no perfect party. Every party has its flaws. But I want you to hear some of the things that Ralph Nader had to say here about the Green Party and also about why he feels it was best for Dr. West to leave the Green Party.
Strongly recommend it. I did want to ask you one last question about something that was in one of the interviews. I think it was in one of the articles. I think it was in the story about Cornel West. It described you as actually advising Dr. West to run as an independent as opposed to on the Green Party ticket. And I wondered about that advice and what you make of his departure from the Greens. That'll be my last horse race question for you.
Well, I know Cornel West. He's not an organizational person. He likes to be free and clear. You get involved in Green Party politics, as I know from firsthand, there's a lot of internal bickering. You got to travel here and travel there to put out the conflict flames and the
what
debilitating
kind of conflict?
Process.
What he alluded to that, but it's hard for me to understand what that looks like and why that's such a seemingly indelible feature of the Green Party.
So Bree's asking the question I think a lot of people have been wanting to hear. What are these conflicts that people have to deal with or have to put out, these flames they have to put out in the Green Party?
Well, I've tried it many, many days and months at Green Party fundraisers to bring them together. The problem with the Green Party is they're upper middle class, most of them. I'm not saying they're rich, but they're not part of the, hard scrabble blue collar class.
That piece right there is something I do think the Green Party needs to work on. I've heard that from other people as well. I've never been a part of the Green Party, but from other people that I've spoken to that have been, that's another complaint that I have heard, that it seems like it's primarily upper middle class members, whereas I think it would do them some good to get more working class people. This is not to say that there aren't Green Party, local Green Party like chapters in those areas, but it just seems like similar to how DSA, like DSA fights for, like they say we're for the workers and people need a living wage, etc. These progressive issues are part of our platform. DSA gets the messaging around Israel and Palestine correct. They support the BDS movement. But like I said before, what I noticed that was very strange is that if you attend a DSA meeting, if you're interested in the organization and you attend one of these meetings, you'll look around the room and you'll notice there's just no working class people that are part of the organization. It's mainly upper middle class or even some wealthier, people that are part of the DSA. And that seems to be some of the same rhetoric I hear about the Green Party as well. So I think expanding their base would be good for the Green Party.
And they're not hurting that much. And as a result, they don't have an energy level. They don't have enough fire in their belly. They have flaming rhetoric, and it's very well substantiated by the facts in the country. I'll grant them that. They have the best agenda of any political party in the country by far on foreign, military, and domestic policy. But if you can't field thousands of local candidates, you're not going to build a party.
Pause right there. This goes back to one of the complaints that I had when Green Party candidates came on the show. And I said, you guys have to want to win, because otherwise this becomes a social club, right? You have to want it. Same thing with DSA. If you look at a lot of the things that's on DSA's, like their principles, the DSA principles, a lot of those things make sense. I think you guys would agree with a lot of the things that they have there, but there's no push for it. Like, why aren't they out in the streets making these demands that they have, that it's a part of their organization? So that was one of the things to me. I'm like, is this just a social club? So the point that I tried to get across to other people that were part of the Green Party is that I think you guys have to prove to people that you actually want to win. And I don't get the impression, I haven't gotten that impression. And that's the thing. It's like, you can't just fall back and be laissez-faire when things don't work out. You have to do heavy marketing. You have to advertise constantly. You should have ads. You should be out, hitting the streets and stuff like that. And they're good about getting the ballot access. But in reference to some of these campaigns taking off in a way that I think that they could, I felt like when it came to the marketing and the messaging, it just didn't spread the way that I believed it could spread if they were more proactive and more fierce about it, in my opinion. For example, RFK Jr. is running as an independent. RFK Jr. stuff is everywhere. Like, you can't look on I can't go one day on Twitter without seeing something from RFK Jr.'s campaign. So it's stuff like that. Like, you have to actually want to win. And he's talking about building up thousands of local candidates. So getting Green Party candidates in political positions on the local level, which they have won some local races, and building up that local infrastructure for the Green Party, and then also making that headway to the national positions.
You can't raise money for full-time staff around the country. You're not going to build the party. And they haven't gotten around to figure out how to do that. They also don't like leadership. If you don't like leadership, you just work on consensus and navel gazing. You're never going to find the leaders in one area after another of your political movement who can really push the envelope and break through the two-party duopoly.
Well, I guess the question people have is all of those taking completely at face value all of those criticisms of the Green Party. It seems like there's even less of that if you're a part of no party, if you're running fully as an independent. And while there are some upsides, polling suggests that generic independent candidate does many, many times better than generic libertarian or generic Green Party candidate. There also is the question of ballot access, not having any infrastructure whatsoever. And if Cornel West is not an infrastructure person, well, does that also cut both ways? Is he going to be able to independently build the infrastructure that he needs and to fundraise all that he needs to get on the ballot and make any kind of real impact?
And that's a good question, because that is the reality. Like, I will say, one thing I will say about the Green Party is they're really good at getting the ballot access. They're good at that. Jill Stein was on the ballot in over 40 something states when she ran in 2016. Libertarian Party has all 50 states, right, for ballot access. So, I would say the same thing for the Libertarian Party. It's like, you have to actually want to win. And I just don't get the impression that they do. Like, it's just, so these are some of the things that Ralph Nader is saying. And I think that it would do the Green Party some good to take some of this into perspective.
Well, he needs to hire a half a dozen good people who know how to get on a ballot. And he needs to raise enough money to do that, to get on maybe, as he said, 25, 30 states. That gets you credible. This isn't about getting, decisive vote totals. This is about agenda. This is about articulating where this country should go domestically and in the world. And Cornel West does a beautiful job on that. And he's got huge energy. He can make hundreds of speeches during the campaign all over the country, going into red districts, talking to people who prima facie may disagree with him. He's very good that way. And so that's an important voice to have. And if the press keeps giving him decent coverage here and there on TV, radio, in the press, he will help push the Democrats and push politics into more progressive realms. It's not about really vote getting. It's about raising all these issues that I've raised. That's why I kept my presidential campaign website open. Go to votenader.org. That's the 2008 campaign. And you'll see about 19 issues that are still current, that are still supported by a majority of people in this country, that are off the table by the Democrats and off the table by the Republicans.
So one thing I will say here that was interesting is when Ralph Nader said it's not about getting the votes, it's about raising awareness of the issues. So essentially what Ralph Nader is saying, at least it sounds like to me, this is really about running a messaging campaign, right? Getting the message out there, getting those policies out there to the masses of the people. And I get that. And I get that we still have to build up the infrastructure for third parties and independents. But I will say this. I think you have to want to win. Ralph Nader has ran for president as a Green, and he ran for president as an independent. He was on more ballots as a Green Party candidate than he was when he was an independent candidate, but he's done it both ways. But I think that's what he's trying to get across to people is that, look, it's not about the votes. It's about delivering the message and raising the awareness of the issues. Because we have to build up third party infrastructure, obviously. But I thought that conversation was very interesting. Eric, we can probably cut that into two. We can probably cut that in two different clips, one with AIPAC and one with the Green Party stuff, because people might want to just go straight to, one or the other. But really interesting take there from Ralph Nader.